যেই নম্বরে আপনি কল করেছেন সেটি বর্তমানে ব্যস্ত আছে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যালো। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ইয়া। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ইয়া। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ইয়া, I will provide you immediately. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I will provide you immediately. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
হ্যালো, শোনা যাচ্ছে আমার কথা? এম আই অডিবল?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
ওকে ওকে, ঠিক আছে। আমি তো অডিওটা ইচ্ছে করে বন্ধ রেখেছি আপাতত।
হ্যাঁ
আর ইউটিউব, ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে। ওকে।
হ্যাঁ, আরে বৌদিকে দেখতে বলো না, কি যেন মোবাইল নিয়ে সাউন্ড হবে, প্রত্যেকটা লাইভ স্ট্রিম হচ্ছে আর সাউন্ড যখন তুমি কথা বলবে তখন দেখবে চালু হয়ে যাবে। বলো না যে আমাদের সমস্ত কোয়ালিস্টদের ওয়েলকাম বলো না।
গুড মর্নিং এভরিবডি। শোনা যাচ্ছে আমি যা বলছি? সন্দীপ দা, আমরা একটু বাদেই স্টার্ট করবো। এখন 11:18 বাজে। বাই 11:25 our resource person ডক্টর সিদ্ধার্থ শঙ্কর সাহা উইল এন্টার। আর তারপরে আমাদের প্রিন্সিপালকে ডেকে নিতে হবে। ওকে, ঠিক আছে, শোনা যাচ্ছে তাই তো? ওকে ওকে। আর আমাদের তো নিয়ম কানুন বলার কোনো ব্যাপার নেই, কারণ উই অল নো হোয়াট শুড বি ডান, কি করতে হবে না করতে হবে। তো এগুলো নিয়ে এখন আমরা ডিসকাস করে লাভ নেই। আর এই লিঙ্কটা খুব লিমিটেড লোকের কাছেই শেয়ার করা হয়েছে, অনলি আওয়ার কলিগস অ্যান্ড ফিউ আদার পিপল। তাহলে এই সংখ্যাটাতে বেশি না পারে, সেটার জন্যই আমাদের এটা করা। ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে। প্রিন্সিপাল ম্যাডাম এই গ্রুপের এখন হ্যাঁ মর্নিং ম্যাডাম ম্যাডামের সাউন্ডটা শোনা যাচ্ছে না ম্যাডাম আপনার সাউন্ডটা একটু শোনা যাচ্ছে না গুড মর্নিং স্যার ডক্টর সুদত্ত শঙ্কর সাহা প্রফেসর
Good morning, Gautam and others.
We are yet to start. ঠিক আছে ম্যাডাম সাউন্ডটা কিন্তু শোনা যাচ্ছে না ম্যাডাম সাউন্ডটা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না আপনার ঠিক আছে স্যার
এবার শুনতে পাচ্ছ?
হ্যাঁ 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 নাও ইউ আর অডিবল ঠিক আছে একদম পরিষ্কার হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
আচ্ছা, আমি ভিডিওটা কিভাবে তোমার বাচ্চাটা বলে দিচ্ছি, আমি কিছু বুঝতে পারি না, এবার চাই
সাউন্ড এসছে ভিডিওটা আপনি যেমন ভিডিও দেখুন ওটাও
তোমার ভিডিওটা যাবে, ভিডিওটা অন করে দাও, তুমি একদম অন করে দাও, আমি অনই থাকি। ভিডিও আসছে?
হ্যাঁ একদম ওকে
তাহলে তো আমাকে সার্ভিস হ্যাঁ অনই
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে So the countdown has begun. We are just about to start.
হ্যাঁ এটা অনই থাক।
আর 5 মিনিট
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, আমি থাকি, কারণ এটা যদি চলে যায় ঠিক আছে। এই শুনতে পাচ্ছ তো গৌতম?
হ্যাঁ 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 correct.
আমি এরকম
হ্যাঁ ভিডিও অডিও সবই ঠিক আছে, ওকে। হ্যাঁ
ঠিক আছে
আমরা ঠিক আছে 3 মিনিটের মধ্যে স্টার্ট করছি।
ঠিক আছে।
So yeah. Okay, now it's almost 11:30, so we are about to start our today's webinar. So good morning to everyone over here. I warmly welcome our Honorable Chief Patron, the resource persons, my dear esteemed colleague in the department and in the college, and of course to all the respected participants and dignitaries across the nation. Greetings to one and all. It gives me immense warmth and great pleasure to host such a webinar. It is a matter of tremendous contentment to be in attendance amongst the most esteemed personalities who have won accolades in their respective fields of study. It is the first such webinar in the annals of BUDGE BUDGE College under the stewardship of our dynamic principal, Dr. Devjini Dotto. The theme of this particular webinar is Impact of Covid-19 on Indian Financial Sectors and Economy. So before we begin this webinar, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all my colleagues, to the principal of our college, to our honorable guest of speakers who are kind enough to give their valuable time and energy for this webinar, and all the dignitaries present in this webinar. It is indeed a great pleasure to have you all with us. Before we proceed further, let me remind you of certain essentials to conduct the webinar in this virtual format. I humbly urge to all the participants to mute their audio and video while the session is in progress in order to reduce the technical glitches. I would like to request all the participants to raise their questions, if any, to the respected honorable speakers, guest of speakers, through their chat box of the Google Meet, who are in the Google Meet. And for those on the YouTube, they can raise their questions, doubts, if any, in the comment section of the YouTube channel. The organizers will then transfer the same to the honorable speaker for clarifications. Well, I don't want to take much of your time, so that for Dr. Edo, I shall call upon our program's chief patron, a distinguished academician and principals of BUDGE BUDGE College, Dr. Devjani Dotto, to deliver the welcome address for this inaugural session. Thank you, and over to Dr. Devjani Dotto. Madam.
Thank you, Gautam. Can you hear me first? I just want to ask. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So this is a technical problem regarding webinars because it is not to face-to-face contact. So we do not understand whether your talking is being delivered to the other end or otherwise. I first thank Gautam Das, HOD, Department of Commerce of BUDGE BUDGE College, and the bursar of our college. At the same time, I also like to thank Dr. Kishore for our department, HOD, Department of Economics, for executing this webinar. Just a month back, I just wanted the webinar should be conducted from our side because many of the institutions are carrying on with this process. So hence, since we cannot carry on in this pandemic seminar or any other meet, this is the only way we can meet each other. And I give my heartfelt thanks to both of them. At the same time, I thank all my teaching staff and non-teaching staff as well as my contractual staff for helping me out. At the same time, giving me the mental strength and the help that is needed to conduct this sort of webinars. The most important thing which I like to focus in this particular matter is that since last 5 months, we are all locked inside our house. We are all jailed inside our house without our any sort of consent. So this sort of jail for a social being, we are human beings are social animals. So for a social being is nothing but it leads you to depression. And there is no contact with each other. There is no exchange of views of each other. It is actually a very, very pathetic situation for the humankind. It is not only that we are the people who are suffering, it is the whole world who are suffering. The whole of South Asia, where I find, actually I am not a person who is related to economics, neither with commerce, but still since I have to deliver a speech being the principal of BUDGE BUDGE College, I went through certain articles since last week and I found that the Asian countries, among the Asian countries, India, China, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and South Korea, they have suffered massive suffered. They have suffered a massive block regarding their economy. As far as my record says, what I have collected from different journals and articles, the GDP has gone down to 5.2%. At the same time, we find there are almost 2.5 million students who do not know when the pandemic is over, whether they will be able to go to their schools or colleges or otherwise. The economy is so actually India belongs to poor economy. We have a poor economy, and the top of that, this pandemic has made almost 4 crores of Indians jobless. At the same time, the record also says there are almost 20 million of people throughout the world, if I'm not wrong, that they do not have any job. So it is a pathetic situation for the humankind. We do not know for what reason we are being punished. For what reason we are being punished with this pandemic. We all know that pandemics, they have to go over. They have to be over after some time. But what the effect this pandemic, this Covid-19 is going to leave on us, we do not know. What this particular pandemic is going to affect, how many of us are going to be in a normal state of mind and can act accordingly as before is really a big, broad question. And being a teacher, a principal is always a teacher. So being a teacher, what I feel is that I miss my students. I miss my college, and I miss my staff. I miss my work. I am not should be retiring so soon. I'm not should be retired. I'm be staying at home all the time, all the time, all the time. But this particular pandemic has made us to be forced to stay inside the house, and without any recreation, without any sort of interaction with people. People are so afraid of each other. Even we are so afraid that if we touch a thing, we go and wash our hands. So, and at the same time, since we have a job, we have a salary, but when I sit down sometimes and think that what are the people who don't have a job, who don't have, who are actually daily laborers, how are they going on? How long will they going on? Will they go on? That is also a very important question. The economy has fallen down to absolutely it has been shattered. And the global economy is going to shrink as per the data by 2020, 3% shrinkage is going to. This sort of shrinkage has been last seen in 1930s. In 1870 also this sort of shrinkage was seen. And the world, at the same time the human society took a lot of time to overcome. Sometimes I ask the question to myself only, that are we the victims? We also only have to suffer. And all the our past generations, they lived their life. They had problems. Everybody had problems. They had problems, health-related issues. They had financial issues. But we were not panicked like this. We have now also. If we have a health-related issue, we always think, "Oh my God, which hospital we are going to go, and how much payment are we going to make? Where is that payment? How can we pay? Can I afford it?" Every time we are so much shattered with this thought that makes you much more uneasy. And not only that, our behavior also has changed. Our behavior has also changed. That I go when I analyze myself, when I sit for a little while after completing my household work and then college work, I do see that there are problems. And then the behavioral problems. We cannot cope up with the, sometimes they ask, can we go back to our past as easily as we can? To me, the question is not so easy. We cannot, because this sort of panicness, this sort of the fear of death, it's a fear of death that makes you so uneasy. You die, that's a question, that is not a question. Everybody you are, when we are born, we have to die. But that's a different question. But when you have the fear that you have to die, and you don't have any other way out from this vacuum, how horrible it is to feel. I think all my participants who are here, they also are experiencing the same sort of thing that after a long time, with the help of Gautam and Kishore, I am able to speak to you. Because we are academicians, we need to speak, we need to exchange our views. Otherwise, we'll die. Mentally, we die. Economy is gone. Health is where we don't know. This pandemic is raging us. It is absolutely making us crazy. It is now the time of the virus. The virus says what we have to do. We are not the makers. We are not the doers. It is the virus who says you have to do this. Hey, you go inside and stay inside. You don't do anything. Just sit down. So it is the time of the virus. So sometimes it is really, it's worrying me. It's worrying me, and I'm more worried. Other than myself and the people of my age, I'm worried about the students. Students, what are they facing? Maybe after 2 years, maybe after 3 years, when we overcome this particular pandemic and come back to a normal life. Come back to our normal life. Will the same students, the behavior we got from them, will be able to get the same behavior from them? I regularly go to college because I want to maintain my professional life. Many people say, even the very important people at my locality in Budge, they say, "Madam, why do you come to college? Do you want to get sick?" I said, if I want to get sick, I'll get sick. You cannot help it. Even sitting at home, you can get sick. But when I come to my college, I feel peace. I feel mental peace. My staffs who see me, they also feel a lot of, strength they get. It is really a very bad time we are passing. And my dear students, after a long time, I got this opportunity to speak to you. And this opportunity I will keep in my mind, and I will thank always my teaching staff that they gave me this opportunity. A teacher cannot teach without the students. Without students, a teacher is never fulfilled. So just like a parent cannot stay without their kids, same also is with us. We cannot stay without you. But I fear how many of you will be back to normal life. So my request to you is that as long as we can carry on with these webinars and this sort of virtual meet, please join. You will feel happy. For at least for some time, you will feel relaxed. Or at least for some time, you will feel that no, there is someone who is with you. And there is lots of people who share the same thing as you share. So my request for you, all my dear students, please join the webinars that our college is going to conduct. At the same time, I thank the speakers who have given their consent and have joined and have made this webinar, I like to say is that workout. They have made this webinar worked out. So I really thank them. And I wish when the pandemic is over, I wish to meet them personally. I personally want to thank them. I think I've taken a lot of time. So, but you need to speak. I need to speak. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to all of you, including the speakers, including my staff, and my dear students, and also the participants who have joined from others outside the college environment. I need you because it is the only way that we can reach out with each other. We can feel, yeah, in this pandemic, we are fighting, we are warriors, and we will fight out. And we will come out of this bad situation. Humankind has faced lots of this sort of horrible times. It is we who are now experiencing this. So I do understand that from my part, that all my students, you are all safe, you are all okay, you are all good. And as soon as the pandemic is over, I wish to meet you. Love you all. And with my dear respect to my elders who have joined in this webinar. And also I request that we will be conducting more webinars. And I wish and I ask all of you to come. And please join. Thank you all. I hand over this podium. I don't know whether it's a podium or not. But I want to hand this podium to my dear.
Okay. Thank you, madam, for your lucid speech on this particular topic. And we have really thrilled to have organized such a webinar in the first time. Now, today we will have sessions and discussion on the topic that entitled Impact of COVID-19 on Indian Financial Sectors and Economy. As our principal madam has said, that we are the COVID-19 and the associated lockdown have triggered a once-in-a-century crisis for society and the mankind. The pandemic has accelerated trends such as remote working, digitization, and adoption of new technology, calling for new and upgraded skills. So our life is not the same as we in earlier occasion. It would be not an exaggeration to say that we are living in a VUCA world. Terminology, the acronym VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It was used in the financial jargon and other area also, but still the challenges are manifold due to these things. Now we are already running behind schedule, so let me give you just an idea. So today we have our guest of speakers. Our guest of speakers will address various issues and dimensions pertaining to financial markets and its various implications on economy. Now, the webinar is to create a broad awareness regarding the economic and the financial issues, especially in the financial market and the banking services, with special emphasis on India. Now, once again, hello everyone, and welcome to today's first technical session, which will be addressed and delivered by Professor Dr. Sridhar Shankar Saha. Dr. Saha is currently the Professor of Commerce at the University of Calcutta. He is also the Faculty of Commerce for Postgraduate Studies in Commerce, Social Welfare and Business Management at the University of Calcutta. He is the Director of a prestigious University of Calcutta and Calcutta Exchange Center of Excellence in Financial Market, which is a unique joint venture between two oldest institutions in India, the University of Calcutta and the Calcutta Stock Exchange. Professor Saha is currently the Associate Editor of the Business Budge Journal and formerly Editor-in-Chief of Indian Accounting Association South Bengal Chapter. He has published more than 130 research papers in accounting and finance-related issues in leading national and international journals. He has also authored more than 10 books in finances, published by reputed national and international publication house such as Tata McGraw-Hill India, Emerald Publishing House UK, Scholars Press Germany, Lambert Academic Publishing House Germany, and by Palgrave Macmillan USA, to name a few. Another important announcement that I want to make here, that Professor Saha has recently published the second edition of his famous book titled Indian Financial System, Financial Markets and Institutions and Services from McGraw-Hill Publication House during this pandemic, during this lockdown period itself. So it's a great journey for him. Professor Saha has previously joined as an assistant professor at GBS College, and later he released from there and he served as an associate professor. He has completed major UGC research projects as principal investigator, and he guided many scholars who have obtained PhD and MPhil research degree under his able guidance. Now I like to invite Professor Saha to deliver a speech on the topic. Over to Professor Dr. Sridhar Shankar Saha. Over to Professor Saha. Please, sir.
Very good morning, Dr. Gautam Das and other dignitaries in today's webinar conducted by, that is our college, BUDGE BUDGE College, Department of Commerce and Economics. And I feel really pleasant to be associated with this seminar on the impact of COVID-19 on Indian financial sector and economy. Actually, I'm working on this issue, no doubt about that, last few years, starting from my journey in St. Xavier's and here, but I did not think of this matter. I have to actually speak on the COVID-19 and its impact on financial market and economy. Okay, God has given this opportunity, to speak on this. Anyway, just a minute.
Sir, is there any problem?
Just technical problem. Just shortly, it will be resolved. Just
Okay.
I think it is all right. That is visual and am I audible? Is it all right?
Yes, it is all right.
Okay. So actually, I'm very much thankful to the organizer to speak on the COVID-19 and financial market. I must say the COVID-19, the coronavirus, is having a worldwide impact, which in turn has affected individuals, families, businesses, government in such a deep negative way that its impact assessment is yet to be known by everyone, as we know. The COVID-19's impact is on every part of society, which may include either social, economic, geographical, and every affected area to take its own time and cost to turn back. Well, as we speak, the virus is spreading, and we're at such a juncture that we ourselves not know how far deep we'll go. In this perspective, in this perspective, I would like to pinpoint some important issues relating to the area of discussion. What about the pandemic scenario and the pre-pandemic slowdown and pandemic slowdown? Why? Because I must not say only pandemic slowdown, because before March, if we look at Indian scenario and also world scenario, we are also scenario global slowdown, including Indian slowdown. The impact market, Indian and also other country stock market, little I give the impact on primary market with respect to our COVID-19 scenario, impact on FPI and FI investment, impact on markets, impact on mutual fund markets, and maybe to some extent lending interest rate, exchange rate. Finally, I come to say about the overall impact, and then Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhijan and protection system policy taken by the union government. And finally, I must give my views by saying some contribution and implication for businesses. If we come to at a glance to see this double pandemic situation, I have a data that is I have taken from reliable source here. You see, that is our Indian perspective. That is different, states data. Starting from into the 17 June 2020, we find that time Delhi, the active case was 26,351, whereas that is a death case was 1837. And then Maharashtra and Gujarat, if we look at, it was that is 50,057 active case and 5962. So in case of death, in Maharashtra it was 5537 in terms of number, and also Gujarat 1533. If we come to that is West Bengal and Tamil Nadu it was 20,709 active case, whereas death was 528. And West Bengal 5386 and death case 495 till that is 17 June 2020. And in this perspective, if I focus on something that is pre-pandemic slowdown, why? As I mentioned, that is before COVID-19, also we faced some kind of slowdown, not only India, across the globe, particularly European countries and other countries. So we must say, the India had also been witnessing a pre-pandemic slowdown even before the pandemic since financial year 2018 and 19. India's growth was falling 8% in the fourth quarter, the financial year 2018, to 4.5% in the second quarter in the financial year 2020. In January 2020 itself, before India's lockdown or reaction to the pandemic, IMF reduced the India's GDP estimates for the year 2019 and also reduced the 2020 GDP forecast as well. Now, you know very well the banknote demonetization issue in 2016. You know the GST enactment issue that is in 2017. I believe, friend, which led to severe severe back-to-back disruption in the economy. On the top of the issue, there had been numerous banking crises, as you must address, such as the infrastructure, leasing and financial services crisis, and the government scheme failure, such as that of Make in India. So we must say that there was also a significant income crunch for both rural and urban sector in the year prior to the lockdown. Now, friend, I would like to focus on the pandemic slowdown. Here, if we say the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented shock to the Indian economy. With the prolonged country-wide lockdown, the global economic downturn, and associated disruptions of the demand and supply chains, economy is likely to face a protracted period of slowdown. I must address what is happening currently in the month of August. I have some chart and some important important data by which I'll be able to ratify what is the scenario during April, May, June, and was the current scenario like August, July, August, what is happening right now. So I must say the magnitude of economic impact will depend upon the duration and severity of the health crisis, the duration of the lockdown, and the manner in which the situation unfolds once the lockdown is lifted. The economic impact of 2020 coronavirus pandemic in India has been largely disrupted. The data shows India's growth in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2020 went down to 3.1%, according to the Ministry of Statistics. Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India said that this drop is mainly due to the coronavirus pandemic effect on the Indian economy. If I come to show the impact on stock market, just if we look at this particular exhibit, if we understand here, actually I'm trying to show the S&P BSE Sensex scenario 2019 from January to December at the same time, that is 2020 January to that is July. That is, you see that in this diagram what has happened in the month of in the month of April particularly, Sensex came down because of COVID-19, what I must address. And at the same time, I must say, May onwards, if we see gradually increasing, we may, as far as our S&P BSE Sensex, Sensex is the barometer in the stock market by which you can say that the stock market scenario. So data I am giving you, you see that is 1st July 2019, the closing Sensex was 37,481, and it ultimately increased to 41,253 December 2019, but actually came down in June, 25th June, 34,842. But if we look at another exhibit here, what I am saying, I think is it audible, Gautam? And that is screen, you are visualizing?
Yes, sir, everything is okay. You are audible.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, if we look at the basic Sensex, the current scenario, what I want to mean, here also I've taken 2019, January 2, that is today, that is 20th August, but till 27th August, the scenario you see, there is about 39,000 Sensex our point raise. That means what I want to mean. In the month of April, it came down because of lockdown, because of our coronavirus related issue. But actually, we are slowly recovering, and ultimately, gradually, it raised, and ultimately, you see the graph shows the Indian market scenario as far as S&P BSE Sensex that is came up. Ultimately, that is still 27. Yesterday, the 39,000 something, about 39,000 census point. So hope for the best. We are slowly trying to recover our pandemic situation as far as financial market is concerned. I'm not saying other market, financial market. If we come to the Nifty scenario, also same result. If we find that is during our April and May, but gradually that is increased scenario, upward trend, and also the current trend. If we find NSE Nifty 50 So we find that in the month of August, in the last day, 27th August, we find it reached about, that is 11,500. I mean, it is a gradually increasing. It's a good sign in the financial market. Investors and company and also stakeholder, they are gaining something as far as financial market investment, what I believe. So we are recovering here also. If we come to the global view, here I must give you the global view to some extent. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, if you see the scenario, the Indian market scenario, their scenario was more or less same during that particular time, that is April to May. But if you see the current scenario, you see it was, that is April, May, and you see the current scenario August. Again, if you see, that is Indian scenario, more or less in line with, that is our Dow Jones, that is our world perspective. So since the market is global, so therefore we are not isolated. India is not isolated. Indian market always very much correlated, connected, which is called, in our research we say, that is economically co-integrated with the foreign market. So it is happening. So they are also recovering. We are also recovering. If we come to, there is another index, that is China. Everybody is talking about China because origin of COVID-19 basically, that is from China, one particular zone. So here, if you see Hang Seng Index, they have also the downtrend in the month of April to some extent, no doubt about that. But unlike India, unlike USA, unlike UK and other countries, but here their scenario also, that is obviously increasing trend in the month of August 2020. The Hang Seng Census Index, so communicates us clearly here. We come to the Nasdaq Composite. Basically, that is based on our USA market. USA market scenario, also not isolated, also in line with the other market as well. So if you see the current scenario, also there is increasing trend, the above 11,000, about 11,500 something, the month of August, the last day of month, the same scenario we find as far as USA market is concerned. Other data and other informations are there. Nikkei is there, and also that is Bitcoin, INR is there. So due to time constraint, I'd like to skip the matter, and I'm coming to point out some important aspect like impact of primary market. As you know, the primary market, basically the market where the money can be generated from the investor pocket to the corporate capital structure, and where we can say that when the registration of new companies are made, by which we must say there is a scope for mobilization of money from the investor to corporate. So if we look at this table, and then we understand in the month of March, in the month of February, January, February, you see the scenario. January, there is total non-government companies in terms of number. It was registered 12,745, gradually decreased from January to February, 10,426, and then March 5,787, and in the month of April 3,203. Accordingly, that is, if you see the total amount of money mobilization gradually decrease. So obviously we can say the impact of COVID issue on the primary capital market. If we come to impact on IPO market, initial public issue market, unfortunately I must say that very few companies came forward to raise their money through primary market in the form of IPO, that is particularly equity IPO. What are those companies' name? What I mentioned, you see the Yes Bank Limited FPO, some important like Anthony West handling Cell, but unfortunately this issue withdrawn. It's a bad side of this market. SBI Card and Payment Service Limited, and also RTI Limited FPO. So IPO, FPO both basically came, but very few. Some of them already withdrawn. Withdrawn means they listed initially with the National Stock Exchange, and subsequently they have actually, because of bad situation, they withdrawn from the market, that issue. So therefore it is another aspect that I'm trying to highlight, that is impact of COVID-19 on IPO market, that is primary capital market is a part of very much financial market. If we come to IPO debt issues, I must address here the January 2020 onward, very few issues like Tata Capital Housing Finance Limited, Seram Transport Finance Company Limited, they came forward to come to market, to came forward to raise their money from the primary market in the form of IPO debt issues. To impact on exchange rate. If we just comparison between the euro and INR, so you see the INR value decline just shows that is euro versus INR. If we look at this table, you see here the July 2019, the price was €1 is equal to, it was 76.734 rupees in INR, whereas 25th June, the €1 is equal to, it was 84.85. But currently, very significantly increasing the recovering in terms of euro INR scenario. We come to that is pound versus INR, same reflection that you can visualize here. So now we come to the impact on, finally, to some extent, the economy. In the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2020, went down to 3.1% according to the Ministry of Statistics. And if we focus on other aspect means, if I say the chief economic advisor to the government of India said that this drop is mainly due to the coronavirus pandemic effect on the Indian economy. Notably, India has also been witnessing a pre-pandemic slowdown, and according to the World Bank, the current pandemic has magnified the pre-existing risk to India's economic outlook. Friend, the World Bank and rating agencies are initially revised the India's growth for the financial year 2021 with the lowest figures India has seen in the 3 decades since India's economic liberalization in the year 1990s. However, after the announcement of economic package in mid-May, the India's GDP estimates were downgraded even more to negative figures, signaling a deep recession. Friend, on 26 May, the CRISIL, the credit rating agency, announced that this will perhaps be India's worst recession since independence. I must address the unemployment issue. The unemployment rose from 6.7% on 15 March to 26% on 19 April, and then back down to pre-lockdown levels by mid-June. During the lockdown, an estimated 14 crore people lost employment. Can you imagine? While salaries were cut for many others, more than 45% households across the nation have reported an drop as compared to the previous year. Major companies in India, if you inquire, like in L&T, Bharat Forge, Totex Cement, Grasim Birla, many more that is have temporarily suspended or significantly young startup have been impacted as funding as well. Friend, on 23rd March 2020, the stock market India post worst losses in history, say 4,000 points, Nifty 1,150 points. However, 25th March, one day after a complete 21-day lockdown was announced by the Prime Minister, Sensex posted its biggest gains in 11 years, adding a value of 4.7 lakh crore rupees for this year. April, following the positive indication from the Wall Street that the pandemic may have reached its peak in the US and the stock market in India rose once again. By 29 April, Nifty held the 9,000 mark. In the beginning of May, India could look forward to a V-shaped recovery. A V-shaped recovery is the best outcome. I must say here, in the Economic Times, one report was published and it was mentioned that the U-shaped recovery is the most likely, followed by an L-shaped recovery. The credit rating agency, Chrysler chief economist said, if things go well, that if the virus is continued, we can expect a V recovery. It will end up as a U. In the second week of May, the company started preparation for restarting operation. Some companies open offices with the maximum strength of 33%, while others took a more cautious approach as low as 5%. The beginning of June, so companies further reopened and making plans to open. The study of Federal Securities INC found that the Indian states, Kerala, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka contributing 27% to India as India emerges from a total loan trend. On 2nd July 2020, Times of India reported that a number of economic indicators, such as the manufacturers, like purchasing managers index, goods movement, GST collection, electricity uses, and rail freight transport saw a significant improvement as compared to the previous month. On 24th July, also we found the remarkable growth. So, friend, just look at here. Almost I have told you, but I take another 5 to time here. The Atmanirbhar Bharat vision. It has been the slogan of government, but there is a big question whether this will get the great success or not. Because as you know, 12 May, the Prime Minister, in address to the nation, said the coronavirus should be seen opportunity. I'm very much optimistic. I'm not pessimistic. I can't say immediately the Atmanirbhar Bharat, this model will get success or not. Situation will speak about matter. Everybody's talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. But wait and see. But we have to build up our confidence of whom? Confidence of investor, confidence of stakeholder, confidence of all sections of society. If we come to another important issue, which is basically that is protectionism, what is that? Actually, this remarkable policy that has been taken by the government of India. I appreciate for this policy. What is that? On 18 April 2020, the India changes foreign direct investment policy. I think those who are studying or research in this area, that to curb opportunistic takeover and acquisition of Indian companies due to the current pandemic, according to the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, particularly China actually took initiative to acquire the Indian companies in the pandemic situation and some neighbor countries as well. But that's why the government took initiative to all in global share prices. There is concern that China could take advantage of that situation, leading to hostile takeover. While the new FDI policy does not restrict market, the policy ensures that all FDI from countries that share a land border with India will now be under scrutiny of the Minister of Commerce and Industry. Finally, I must say, we are yet uncertain about how long the pandemic could continue. Longer it stretches, continues, economic damages will be more. But new domain takes shape as we pass stresses and strain, giving the opportunity for the economy to bounce back. Failure is the pillar of success. This probable, so hope for the best. Even to appropriate use of style getting start. A well-placed planner has to be devised for both formal and informal sector to make a healthy, productive exit route when things fall back to normalcy once again. I could say, conclude by saying the way forward and implication for businesses. The pandemic has paralyzed economies. You agree? And businesses to reevaluate the strategies. Companies will need to build their financial and focus on developing a lean structure to steer through the uncertain business environment. Global nature of the outbreak, this high intensity long duration, is expected to change business landscape by way of shift in trade flows, investment consumption pattern. Finally, I must say, priority for business should be to draft comprehensive action, a recovery plan to mitigate the risk and address the main challenges. Thanks for your patient hearing. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Professor Shaha. It is indeed a great presentation which throw light on the topic and also projects some ray of hope down the line. Professor Shaha has touched upon almost most of the parameters related to Indian financial markets. Now, some questions has been raised by some honorable audience. So I'm just putting through those questions to you for some clarification. So one question is that,
welcome.
Okay, sir. How to get the economic growth in our primary market? Since we are already suffered setback, so how to revive these things? One question.
Okay, one by one. That is, first question is how primary market can be recovered.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Actually, this, ill situation was not permanent. So as I told you, the stock market, it was, recession during the period, particularly February to some extent March to, May, and then gradually increasing. So ultimately, that is in a primary market, the same result that is we can expect coming days, because primary market basically there is new company come forward either to be registered or maybe existing companies that maybe in the form of IPO, further public offer, they can raise their money. So therefore, okay, at present due to panic and other issues, maybe new companies, unlike that is in 2019, they are not coming forward. But here there is, our regulatory bodies, particularly SEBI and Ministry of Finance, they are supposed to take some remedial steps so that, and also they can encourage to the companies to come to market to raise the money and to investor as well. But it is not cup of tea. So within 1 month or 2 months, easily it will be done. Like the stock market, why? Because stock market basically the buy the stock, sell the stock. And where basically they want to have there's capital gain or loss. But here if we talk about the primary market basic issue can come to market to mobilize money, and that issue can get listed with the stock exchange, and after the trading you start with the stock exchange. So therefore it is not like that they like our stock market. So now 39,000 Sensex and gradually increased and good result, but primary market immediately we have the exact same. We can't expect. We have to wait for another few months. Regulatory and financial intermediaries like merchant bankers, investment bankers, particularly stockbrokers, they can take some initiative for campaign and to remove the panic and confusion of the stakeholders, particularly the would-be investor. And I feel ultimately this market also will show the good result. Next question.
Okay, next question. Another is very interesting question. Indian stock market is not at par with the Indian economy as reported by RBI governor. Sir, please analyze this fact.
No, it is very much clear. That is, sometimes those who don't have the knowledge about the entire system, we say the stock market only the parameter or barometer. I think Professor also, I think the specialized in economics, if I'm not wrong, so he will elaborate matter in future. So I feel always it's a one-side result of stock market. But what happened actually in the stock market? Stock market basically in our market very vibrant. Reason behind that everybody agree what the king starts. Basically there is FII. Foreign institutions. When they're coming to market to buy the stock, then market is going up. When they're leaving the market, then ultimately that what is happening, the market is going down. But what about that is other sector? other sector like maybe manufacturing sector, mining sector, maybe other service sector or other sector, particularly real estate market, where money basically invested, not like a stock market. So stock market basically frequently going up, going down, unlike there is other part of the economy, rather other sector where it will take time to recover. You know, there is a overall GDP growth, then in the last growth, that where actually it reached, and also if you see that is our manufacturing sector growth, maybe other sector growth. So therefore, we must not compare the comparison between the stock market and this market. Reason behind that is, suppose if I say real estate market, suppose one company to collaborative business, starting the new venture to manufacture something, they require money. So the money will come from the foreign market as well as Indian market, but it's called the real estate investment. I mean, real market investment. So now we talk about the stock market. Stock market basically they're buying the stock for having or gaining is capital gain or capital loss. So therefore, this market scenario and also that is our real market scenario must not be the okay.
Okay, the next question and probably the last question. Can India take a global lead with the help of Atmanirbhar Bharat?
Now, this is not the right moment. So I must honor as a citizen, irrespective of any color. Yeah, I must honor. That's why I have pointed out. Yeah, I honor this idea, this model. This model actually launched by that is our honorable government, honorable prime minister. But this is not the right moment to speak on positively. If I speak on positively, I'll be biased. So in that case, someone can say, Professor Shah basically follow this particular ideology. So that's why I have basically raised the issue here that we have to wait to see. Idea is good. Idea is good in that sense that we must be we must be our this idea, and we must depend upon our resources, our policy measures, and then we produce the more number of units, more new items, new product, and then we'll be able to sell our product in the market, and so that we'll be able to generate the foreign exchange reserve, which is very, very important. The main objective of Atmanirbhar Bharat, our objective is to have the more dollar, more pound to increase exchange reserve, more export, not less import. This will be the objective of this model. This is not the right moment, but yes, we must be the positive-minded people. So hope for the best. Ultimately, in future, if India will lead in the world, leader in the world. So myself, you and everybody, as Indian citizen, always we feel better, and we that way will encourage the government. Whoever may be the government, it may be tricolor party, it may be bicolor party, it may be the single color party. That doesn't matter. Matter is government doesn't have any color. Government taking the policy. So that's all. Any other query?
And last question regarding how can NBFIs overcome such pandemic situation to grow up economy?
How can
NBFIs, non-banking financial institutions, overcome such pandemic situation?
No. Actually, non-banking financial companies are not very much isolated because financial companies, commercial banks, merchant banking or investment banker, stockbroking, all intermediaries, even development finance institution. So all companies, even maybe that is our including insurance business, all companies, all sector, including there is SME, MSME, all sectors, that is, last January onwards, because of pandemic, they have some recession. And before pandemic, as I said to you, because of global recession, that is till December 2019, particularly interest rate of euro market. What should I say? There is euro countries, that means Europe countries, negative interest rate. We had there is slowdown. So there is European countries that is before pandemic situation slowdown, and here also there is slowdown. But because if we talk about the Indian financial system, if we talk about holistic view, there is non-banking companies are part of financial system. So market part of financial system, commercial banks part of financial system. So about this particular sector, not isolated. So therefore, if markets are going up, if other part of system, financial system are going up, so gradually, automatically, that is our this market, this sector also will go up. Otherwise, that is, if we talk about the overall development of financial system, that may not come out. This is my observation.
Thank you, sir. This is a very interesting answer, question answer session, interactive session. We have just collected few questions and just delivered to you to answer. So we are thankful to Professor Shaha for his gracious presence in this webinar. Despite his busy schedule, he has consented to speak for our program. It's a great moment for us. Thank you once again to Professor Siddhartha Shankar Shaha.
I must be excused, Gautam. My other issues, you know very well than others, present universities and other issues. So we have other assignment and meeting online. So I must excuse to leave. But 5-10 minutes, that is, I may not have good relation with Professor Datta. Is a senior professor, so I think he's a professor in economics, I believe. So therefore, I have interest to listen his delivery at least 5 minutes, and after that, I'll be leaving. So please allow me. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your gracious presence. Okay, sir. Now, in our second technical session, which is to be addressed by our senior most professor, Dr. Devabroto Datta. Now we have with another distinguished professor personality, Professor Dr. Devabroto Datta, the internationally recognized professor of economics from IMT Ghaziabad. He has variety of economic issues from reputed national and international journals. Induced trade, the poor man's consumption basket found favor with a global audience. Global thinkers are there. Long before his association with IMT Ghaziabad, Professor Datta had acquired varied experiences ranging from industry associated with sales of India Limited, and also immense exposure to agriculture and services during his 7 years with the SBI, State Bank of India. He was also formerly associated with Ashutosh College as an associate professor, I think. And his international assignments includes as guest lecturer at LK Academy of Management, Warsaw, Poland, the guest researcher at University of Copenhagen, Denmark, and at Lancaster University Management, UK. Now I call up Professor Dr. Datta, an adjunct professor of IMT Ghaziabad, to deliver his speech. Over to Professor Dr. Datta. Thank you. Sir, please continue.
Can I speak a little bit, Gautam?
Yeah.
Okay. I cordially invite our next speaker, Professor Datta, to join in our webinar. The portion that I listened by Professor Siddhartha, yes, and it was excellent. Even though I'm not a person of the subject, but I realized and I understood. And I enjoyed it, and it was after a long time that I liked it, this sort of academic interaction. So thank you, Dr. Siddhartha. It was really very nice on your part to help us and organize this webinar. At the same time, I once again request our Gautam to invite Dr. Devabroto Datta for the next session.
Dr. Devabroto Datta, Professor Datta has already been introduced by me. Now he is presenting.
Thank you.
হ্যাঁ স্যার, শুধু আপনার ওই পিপিটিটা ওপেন করলেই হবে, সব রেডি আছে। হ্যাঁ দেখা যাচ্ছিল, আপনি আবার মিনিমাইজ করে দিলেন বলে বন্ধ হয়ে গেল, ওটাকে ম্যাক্সিমাইজ করে দিন। তাহলে পিপিটিটা আরেকবার খুলুন। হ্যাঁ সব শোনা যাচ্ছে, আপনি খুলুন। হ্যাঁ স্যার, দেখাও যাচ্ছে, শোনাও যাচ্ছে।
হ্যালো, প্রফেসর দত্ত, আপনারটা বোধহয় মিউট হয়ে আছে, প্লিজ আনমিউট ইউর সেলফ, হ্যাঁ, সো দ্যাট উই ক্যান লিসেন ইউ। স্যার, প্রফেসর দত্ত, প্লিজ আনমিউট ইউর সেলফ, উই ক্যানট হিয়ার ইউ প্রপারলি। Professor Dotto, can you hear me? Sir, you have unmuted yourself. Professor Dotto, sir, please unmute yourself. We cannot hear you. We can see the presentation, but video is there, but no audio.
ও স্যার, ফোনই ধরছে না। হ্যাঁ স্যার, স্যার সব ঠিক ছিল, আপনি আবার এন্টার করুন, করে যে আপনি ফাইল খুলেছিলেন সব ঠিক ছিল, শুধু আপনার আনমিউট হয়ে গিয়েছিল হঠাৎ করে, আবার ফির ওই যে মাইক। হ্যাঁ কিন্তু ওই যে মাইক্রোফোনের সাইন ছিল, ওখানে শুধু ক্লিক করলেই আপনি আবার ইয়ে হয়ে যাবেন, আনমিউট হয়ে যাবেন। আপনি
Sorry for the technical glitches.
আপনি আপনি
Professor Dotto will definitely
লাইনে আছে,
deliver his speech. Please have patience.
আছে। হ্যালো স্যার, এই লিঙ্কটা ক্লিক করে ঢুকেছেন? হ্যালো, এই লিঙ্কটা ক্লিক করে ঢুকুন। এই লিঙ্কটা ক্লিক করে আবার গুগল মিটে ঢুকুন। না না, লিঙ্কটা আপনাকে যে পাঠিয়েছিলাম সেখান থেকে খুলুন। খুলছে না? মেলটা খুলেনি? আমি আপনাকে কি আবার মেলে পাঠাবো? এ বাবা, কোনো জায়গায় কপি করা নেই? দেরিও, আচ্ছা। না না না, সেটার জন্য না, অসুবিধা নেই। আপনি এক কাজ করুন, মোবাইল দিয়ে খুলুন আর আমি এখান থেকে প্রেজেন্ট করে দিচ্ছি। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, মোবাইল দিয়ে খুলুন, দিয়ে আমি এখান থেকে প্রেজেন্ট করছি। হ্যাঁ স্যার, মোবাইল দিয়ে ঢুকুন, আমি প্রেজেন্ট করে দিয়েছি। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, না আমি আপনার দিল্লি নাম্বারে মনে হয় পাঠিয়েছি এই লিঙ্কটা। আমি এক্ষুনি আবার হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ করছি, আপনি ঢুকুন, আমি অলরেডি ইয়ে করে দিয়েছি, মানে প্রেজেন্টিং অপশন। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
Due to some technical problem, Professor Dotto is trying to present his topic. So please stay with us.
হ্যাঁ হ্যালো, স্যার ঢুকছেন 1 মিনিট ওয়েট করো। আনমিউট করেননি? আচ্ছা দেখছি, স্যার কি ঢুকেছেন? ঠিক আছে, স্যারকে বলছি, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ। হ্যালো স্যার। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, আচ্ছা আপনি বলুন। হ্যাঁ বলুন। না, আপনি আনমিউট করুন, মিউট হয়ে আছে। না, ওখানে দেখুন একটা নিচের দিকে ক্লিক করলে একটা মাইক্রোফোনের সাইন আছে, ওই সাইনটা লাল হয়ে আছে, ওটাকে ক্লিক করুন। হুম, হ্যাঁ মাইক্রোফোনের সাইন আছে দেখুন। ওই স্ক্রিনে টাচ করলে মাইক্রোফোনের একটা সাইন থাকবে। হ্যালো। হ্যালো। ও বাবা, হ্যাঁ 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 স্যার, পিপিটিটা মিনিমাইজ করলেন কেন? পিপিটিটা খুলে দিন, ওটা খুলুন, যেমন খুলেছিলাম দেখা যাচ্ছিল। না শোনা যাচ্ছে না, ওই নিচে দেখুন একবার, ওই স্ক্রিনে টাচ করুন, দেখুন একটা মাইকের সিগন্যাল আছে, ওই মাইক মতো উপরে একটা উঠে আছে দেখুন, একদিকে ক্যামেরা একদিকে মাইক। না ওটা অন নেই, আপনার অফ আছে, ওতে ক্লিক করুন। অন দেখাচ্ছে কিন্তু শোনা যাচ্ছে না, আপনি একবার ক্লিক করুন। হ্যাঁ দেখা যাচ্ছে, ওই মাইকে একবার ক্লিক করে তারপর কথা বলুন, দেখি কি হয়। ওই মাইকটাতে ক্লিক করুন, নিচে দেখুন। না ওখানে না, ওখানে না, ওই দেখুন নিচে টাচ করলে দুটো গোল গোল লাল লাল রাউন্ড আছে, একটা হচ্ছে মাইকের মতো আর একটা হচ্ছে ক্যামেরা, কলিং এর মাঝখানে, কলিং এর দুদিকে, কলিং সিগন্যাল আছে তার দুদিকে। ওই হ্যাঁ স্যার। না শুনতে পাচ্ছি না। না হলে আপনি এখানে প্রেজেন্ট করুন, আর ওখান থেকে ঢুকুন, ওই আর মোবাইল থেকে ঢুকুন, মোবাইলে কথা বলুন আর এখানে প্রেজেন্ট করুন। হ্যাঁ স্পিকারটা অন থাকলে হবে না, মাইকটা অন আছে কিনা দেখুন, ওই স্পিকারটা দেখলে হবে না। ওই স্ক্রিনে আপনি ঘোরাতে থাকুন আঙুলটা, তাহলে দেখবেন ওই, না না ওটা কেটে গেল তো। হ্যাঁ দেখুন ওই দুদিকে একটা রেড রেড রাউন্ড আছে, ওখানে না। না না ওইটা না, ওটা না, ওটা না, দেখুন নিচের দিকে দেখুন দুটো রেড রেড রাউন্ড আছে, একদম নিচে টপে, নিচে। উম, একটা কলের সিগন্যাল আছে, তার দিকে দুদিকে একটা মাইকের একটা হচ্ছে ইয়ে সিগন্যাল আছে দেখুন, দেখতে পাচ্ছেন রেড রেড দুটো রেড গোল গোল আছে নিচের দিকে একদম, নিচের দিকে একদম নিচে দেখুন গোল গোল দুটো রাউন্ড আছে, একটা হচ্ছে মাইকের সাইন আছে, একটা ক্যামেরা সাইন আছে, টার্ন অন ক্যামেরা আছে নিচে, আর একটা টার্ন অন মাইক্রোফোন আছে দেখুন, দেখতে পাচ্ছেন না? কেন দেখাচ্ছে না আপনি কি, আপনি এক কাজ করুন, আপনি ওই ইয়েতে বলুন, মানে মোবাইলে খোলা যাচ্ছে না, আগের দিন তো মোবাইলে খুললেন, অন্য মোবাইলে খোলা যাচ্ছে না, আপনি জাস্ট বলুন আর আমি এখান থেকে প্রেজেন্ট করে দিচ্ছি। হ্যাঁ কিন্তু মোবাইলে গেলে আপনি সাউন্ডটা শুনতে পাবো, মোবাইলে হয়তো এই ডিভাইসে হচ্ছে না, মোবাইলে হতে পারে, মোবাইলে আপনি খুলুন, প্যারালালি এটা খোলা আছে থাক, মোবাইলে খুলুন। এখানে স্যার এই আপনি মোবাইলে একবার খুলে দেখুন না, এটা আপনার স্টপ প্রেজেন্টিং করে দিন। না 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 ওতে, না না ওটা থাকলেও হচ্ছে না স্যার, আপনি ওই স্টপ প্রেজেন্টিং করে দিন স্যার, স্টপ প্রেজেন্টিং করে দিন, দিয়ে আর ইয়ে করুন, ওই মোবাইলে চলে যান। আপনি আনমিউট করুন, এখানে আপনার আনমিউট মিউট হয়ে আছে, আ- এখান থেকে মিউট দেখাচ্ছে না। আচ্ছা আপনি তাহলে মোবাইলে ঢুকুন। না মোবাইল ওই স্ক্রিনে টাচ করলে দেখবেন একটা মাইক্রোফোনের সাইন আছে, ওই মাইক্রোফোনটাকে আপনাকে অন করতে হতো। হ্যাঁ ওই মাইক্রোফোনটাকে আপনাকে অন করতে হবে।
প্রফেসর দত্ত স্যার, আপনি স্যার, আপনার কথাটা শোনা যাচ্ছে না, প্লিজ আনমিউট করে নিন, অডিওটাকে আনমিউট করুন।
স্যার আপনার ওই স্ক্রিনে টাচ করুন, টাচ করলেই দেখবেন একটা মাইকের সাইন আছে তলার দিকে।
মাইকের সাইনটা, হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ ওই মাইকের সাইনটাতে আপনি ক্লিক করুন, আর আমি এখান থেকে আপনার পিপিটিটা প্রেজেন্ট করে দিচ্ছি স্যার, আপনি ওখান থেকে বলতে থাকুন।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, আপনার এই মাইকের মতো সাইনটা আছে, ওটা জাস্ট ক্লিক করুন তাহলে হয়ে যাবে।
তলার দিকে আপনি আগে স্ক্রিনে টাচ করুন, তারপর দেখবেন তলার দিকে একটা মাইকের সাইন আছে। হ্যাঁ স্যার শুনতে পাচ্ছি, হ্যাঁ স্যার শুনতে পাচ্ছি আপনি স্যার
Now
বলতে-
you are audible.
হ্যাঁ স্যার
আচ্ছা ওকে then I'm starting.
স্যার আমি
Okay,
প্রেজেন্ট
okay.
করছি, আপনি শুধু বলতে থাকুন ওখান থেকে। এক সেকেন্ড স্যার।
Okay, just a minute.
হ্যাঁ স্যার
Okay.
আমি এখান থেকে প্রেজেন্ট করছি স্যার।
Okay. So sorry for this technical snag. You know this.
স্যার আপনি কি দেখতে পাচ্ছেন স্লাইডটা?
Slide I'm দেখছি।
হ্যাঁ স্যার
আমার
দেখতে পাচ্ছেন?
ল্যাপটপে স্লাইড আছে। Yeah, slide is visible to me.
আচ্ছা গৌতম দা, স্লাইড ইজ ইট স্লাইড ভিজিবল টু অল?
Yes, visible.
So show the second slide.
ইয়া
তুমি সেকেন্ড স্লাইডে চলে যাও।
Second slide is importance of financial sector, but some time is lost. For the, at the outset, I thank the organizers of this conference or webinar in this team, and particularly Principal Madam Dr. Devjani Datto and my colleagues, friends. All of you know that it is really a very torrid time for all of us. Particularly, the financial sector is very badly affected by this lockdown crisis. I shall call it a lockdown crisis. It's not that COVID crisis. Actually, the problem is not due to COVID as such, but mainly the policies that have been undertaken to fight this infection is actually creating all those difficulties. Anyway, all of us know that financial sector is a very important sector in an economy. It does several factors like say, providing liquidity, meeting the needs of creditors and debtors. It bridges the present and the future. And savings and investment are equalized through this financial sector. So it's simple. I have some money, I cannot invest. I want to lend this money. So I have to go to the financial sector to lend this money, and the investor will borrow this money and use the money for investment. So that is the basic thing. Now, if financial sector doesn't run properly, then this entire savings investment thing will be adversely affected, and as a result, the real economy functioning will also be affected. That is, production will drop, employment will drop, unemployment will increase. So basically, whatever we see now in the real world is getting magnified because of the crisis in the financial sector. So please go to the next slide.
Yes sir.
Next slide. Okay, so slide talks about this pandemic. Dr. Saha has spoken elaborately on this. Now, what has happened is simple. The borrowers or the debtors, they have borrowed money in India, mostly francs, and now their flow of revenue has come down, so they are finding it difficult to service their debt. And what RBI has been suggesting to the bank, that you, for the time being, impose a moratorium and don't show it as NPA. That is the present, what we call the response in this crisis time, moratorium, that will be effective only up to 31st August, and thereafter all the NPAs have to be recognized, and automatically the balance sheet of the banks will look very scary actually. A huge rise in NPA. So let's see. So let's go to the next slide. So basically, what is happening, this lockdown, etc., they have affected the recovery of loans. And this existing business, in business you need money to buy raw materials, the retail needs money to buy their stock. When this financial sector is not being functioning properly, this mobilization of working capital has got affected. Now what RBI has done, next slide. What RBI has done, moratorium for loan has been extended till August 31st, 2020. The bankruptcy proceedings have been suspended. You know this IBC guideline under which bankruptcy proceedings are initiated, but that is for the time being suspended. Asset classification norms are relaxed. The repo rate has been reduced to 4%, and CRR has been increased to 100 basis points. I am just explaining these two things. The repo rate means the rate at which the commercial banks borrow from the Reserve Bank of India. Now, if rate of interest is reduced, they will borrow more and they will lend more, and so money will be provided to the real economy. That is the basic, aim of the RBI policy of reducing repo rate. CRR is something, again, the similar kind of objective. Reduction in CRR means banks need not keep that much of reserve with the Reserve Bank, so they will get some extra money to lend, and this extra money will come to the real economy. That is basically the theoretical aim under these policies. But problem is, okay, you can give more liquidity to the banks, but will the bank lend? Will the borrowers come forward to take loan from the banks? Actually, the statistics show this is not happening. So banks are flush with funds. Huge liquidity has been injected into the commercial banks, but what they are doing? They are actually redepositing that money with the Reserve Bank of India itself under reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate is just the opposite. Banks put their money with the RBI and get some interest. So banks feel that since we cannot give loans, it's better to give those money back to the RBI. So basically the same thing is remaining. RBI is giving money to the commercial bank is returning those money to the Reserve Bank of India. So practically the real economic problems are not being tackled by this measure in this difficult situation. And why industries are not borrowing, or business is not borrowing this money from the banks? Because they feel that we cannot run the business smoothly when there is demand problem, when there is problem of shortage of labor, then how can we continue our production? So what's the point of taking loans and paying interest on that? So basically that is the difficulty presently we are facing. So please go to the next slide. So here there are some facts. The non-food credit rose 6.8%. Earlier it was 11.4%, so you see the drop. Non-food credit has dropped to 6.8% from earlier growth rate of 11.4%. Similarly, credit growth has also fallen from 6.4% to 1.7%. What does that mean? That means the banks do not find it possible to lend to the business household. Similarly, credit to micro and small enterprises that have not at all increased, they have contracted. Similarly, lending to MSME, that has also fallen by 5.3%. So basically all those sectors are suffering from this shortage of credit. And credit is not actually needed because normal business is not functioning. Please go to the next slide. Now, what are the problems? We are concerned more about the future. Okay, present day we are passing somehow, but what will happen tomorrow? What will happen next month? So that is our concern. Will the bank remain safe? Will they be able to, keep our deposits intact so that our future remains secure? So there lies the problem. And AI comes out with a report called Financial Stability Report that shows RBI estimate of the risk in the economy. And what they are projecting now is not very comforting. They are showing that this gross non-performing asset means actually the bad debt. Bank has given the money is not coming back to the bank through recovery. Then what happens? The money of the depositors get adversely affected. Their safety gets threatened. So this NPA, NPA problem is a long-standing problem of the Indian banking system that was somehow tackled last 2 years. The ratio has been brought down, but now it is apprehended that it will further increase from 8.5% to 12.5% under not very severe macroeconomic condition. If the macroeconomic condition is really severe, as it may, then this gross NPA will go up to almost 15.7%. So you can easily see how grim is the situation. So much bad debt out of bank's total lending. Out of 100 rupees, 15 rupees are becoming bad. Who will, bear this burden of this bad debt? That's the big challenge. Who will bear this burden? I shall actually show you a model and see the government approach in this regard and what's the pitfalls of that approach. Please go to the next slide. So this is basically the NPA scenario as I have elaborately explained. Now, if this prolonged financial stress continues, then even the consumer's loan, they will be affected. The latest figure on employment has shown that 1.89 crore employed person, salaried employed person, have lost their jobs. It's a huge figure. Our salaried employed persons are around 8 crores in Indian economy, 80 million. Out of that, 19 million have already lost jobs. And today there is a report that in IT sector, 2 lakh people will lose their job. So basically, employment is now a very big issue, and job of private sector is very badly threatened right at this moment. Growth rate, again, not very hopeful prediction. It will be negative. Everyone has agreed. But there is still some uncertainty about the extent of fall. The predicted rate varies from 5% to 10%. 5% fall, it has not happened almost since independence. And 10%, it is almost unthinkable. So you can easily see if your income goes down by 10%, and income of everyone is not falling. The income of Mukesh Ambani, asset value has increased by 1,50,000 crores over the last 3 months. So their income credited to their capital account. Now, please show the bank recapitalization. Next slide. So when NPAs are written off, that is written off from the earning of the banks. It is a loss basically. So when loss is incurred, automatically the capital level also goes down, and there is a norm called Basel norm, that is every asset, loan of the bank is the asset of the bank. These are the assets, and deposits are the liabilities. Now, those assets are weighted by some risk. For example, government debt is considered to be riskless, so their weight is 0. Corporate debt and other debts, they are risky, so they have weight. So basically, this ratio between bank's capital and the risk-weighted asset should be at least 8%. Now, if this capital goes down, automatically this ratio will fall below 8%. So what government does, government gives some capital to the public sector banks. But there is a major flaw in this regard. I have constructed a model. Please show the next slide. What we have found out from the earlier recapitalization exercise, that the fund that bank is getting from the government of India is basically our deposits. Our deposits are actually being used. So bank collects money from me, that money goes to the government, and government gives it to the bank as capital. So basically, this deposit of the depositors are being used for recapitalizing banks. So what's the mechanism? Please show the next slide. What is happening? Suppose I make some deposit with the commercial banks. So commercial banks bought government bond with deposits. So money goes to the government, government spends this money. Okay, good thing. This government spending will boost up income and employment. But more money is needed by the government. Now what RBI did, RBI prints some new money and buys those government bonds under this repo rate system or under open market purchase from the commercial banks. So banks purchase bonds. Those bonds are repurchased by RBI and money comes back to the commercial banks. Okay. Now, what a bank does with the in normal case, what it should have been the case? Bank should lend this money to the real sector, but real sector has no demand. So what is happening? Please show the next slide. So what is happening now? Government again issues some new bond, and this money received by the commercial banks from Reserve Bank of India are used to buy these new bonds, and government gets back the money and then gives that money to the commercial banks for capital infusion. So basically, original source of this money is deposit, and that deposit goes to the banks as capital. So on paper everything is fine, but from accounting point of view, this is not a very sound practice, because deposit again is a government bank's liability. Okay, please go to the next slide. So basically, but problem is when bank gets this extra money as capital, since NPAs are ballooning, NPAs are so huge, banks are using that capital to write off those NPAs. You know, huge amount of NPAs, bad debts are getting written off by the commercial banks. So what is happening in this case? Practically, the deposit of the depositor is being used to write off old loans. Now, you know, you can easily understand the problem in this case. I put my deposit with the commercial banks. Now that deposit is getting used up to write off some old loans. So how bank will pay my deposit? You know, since it's a very big ship, there are millions of depositors, millions of money is involved. We trust our bank. So, okay, situation is going on. But under this entire story, the risk is apparent. The risk is apparent. That is my main concern, that how long this can continue, how long banks can go on writing off these loans. Please go to the next slide. So my question is, how long this process can go on? Two issues are there. First of all, say when banks, Reserve Bank prints this new money to actually give it to the government, that printing of new money is dependent on bank's bond. Bank's stock of bond ultimately enables Reserve Bank of India to print new money. Now, if deposit does not come, then what will be the source of this new printing money by the RBI? So there lies the crisis. So what is needed now? Bank should get more and more deposits. But actually, the flow of deposit has declined. So first constant is flow of deposit. The second constant is if NPA grows at a very high rate, then automatically it will be very difficult to continue with this entire game. So this risk is also there. So one is slow mobilization of deposit because of this crisis, and second is huge increase in NPA. Now please go to the next slide. So both these constants are operative right at this moment. Okay, so deposit is not increasing and NPAs are rising. So now there is a moratorium, so we do not get the actual figure. But once moratorium is lifted and all those loans are shown as regular loans, then NPAs will also go up as apprehended in the Reserve Bank's financial stability report. So there lies the situation is grim. Please go to the next slide. So I am suggesting some measures and they are actually off the track. They are against the run of the present day policy making. First of all, my suggestion is, last year government allowed a huge corporate tax cut, almost to the extent of 2 lakh crore. Now we are passing through a very difficult situation. I don't understand what's the point of continuing with this low tax policy, because now corporate investment is not likely to come up. So in this crisis situation, I feel that this corporate tax rate should be increased by withdrawing this corporate tax cut, at least for the time being. The second is, you know what is happening. Now there is a question in the last session that real economy is functioning very badly, but the stock market is rising. So what is basically happening, we are injecting huge liquidity into the system. Not only India, other countries in the world are also doing that. But now this liquid money is not to be used in the real sector because real sector is not functioning because of lockdown. Then what I shall do with the liquidity? I shall go to the stock market and buy some stock. So basically, liquid fund is not increasing employment and income. It is actually increasing the asset price. This is happening all over the world. This Elon Musk, his income has been increased by $2 billion. Can you imagine the figure? $200 crore, $2 billion over a span of 2-3 months. So basically, this is happening. The inequality level in the economy has been rising hugely over this period. You know, one of the major impact of this lockdown and corona-related crisis is a huge increase in the inequality level in the society, because income of the poor people or ordinary people, middle class people are coming down, and asset prices are going up, so income of those people who are the owners of those assets is rising at a hugely brisk rate. So basically, this stock price increase doesn't at all reflect any hope for the real economy. It is a reflection of the liquidity created, flow of money towards the asset market. So my suggestion is that has to be curbed. This flow of money to stock market has to be curbed. This extra revenue has to be used for employment generation. The security transaction tax can also be increased. Actually, Bernie Sanders, the Democrat senator, has proposed that there should be a temporary tax for this year on those people who have accumulated huge fund due to this huge rise in the asset prices. So I feel that is also a suggestion can be taken care of. So if some people get $2 billion, then at least there can be a tax of 40%. That will mean actually 80,000 crore that will provide employment under this rural employment program, Mahatma Gandhi rural employment program. At least say 10 lakh people will get job with that money. So that is another suggestion. Real interest is to be made positive. You know, real interest has actually become negative now. Inflation rate is 7%, interest rate is just 4-5%. So that has to be made positive. Interest is to be increased, because as I've told, deposit is to be increased. If you reduce interest rate, then flow of deposit will further fall, particularly to the banking sector. So you have to think out of the box. It is a very difficult situation, and all those old policies will not work. So perhaps the reverse policy will help. Interest rate may have to be increased. Public sector, this privatization has not yielded result. What is happening in the public sector? In airlines, you have introduced public sector. You use Indigo, you use SpiceJet, you feel okay, private sector is running very well. But just think how many private sector airlines have stopped their business over the last 15 years. I can say, go on naming them. And what is happening in that case? You are saying government is subsidizing Air India, but what is happening? Banks are giving loans to these airlines, private airlines companies, Jet Airways like companies, and ultimately loan is not repaid. And bank is getting the NPA, and that is getting replenished by the government. So basically that is also subsidization. So what's the wrong in subsidizing a public sector company instead of subsidizing the private sector company? So public sector, this is the moment where public sector investment is to be stepped up. Unlockdown is necessary. You have to somehow think about the plight of the economy. Health of every individual is very important, but health of the economy is equally important. So it has to be somehow relooked that how long we will continue with this total or partial lockdown. So that's all I have to say here. If you have any questions, I shall try to, answer those questions too. But I don't think that I shall be able to, give very specific answer in some cases because situation, still very uncertain. Thank you very much for this hearing. Please show the next slide. So any question?
Thank you, Professor Shaha, for your lucid presentation. You have covered a wide range of economic issues. We have some questions. First question is regarding total bit out of track regarding disinvestment. Sir, is disinvestment can be considered as considered by the government of India to tackle any kind of eventualities or such kind of pandemics? Is disinvestment can be a solution to this problem? Why government is
Actually, I have a different opinion in this because at least right now, when private sector is not very enthusiastic about further investment, then this investment should, in my opinion, be regarded as sale of family silver. You don't have money, so you sell your assets. But all those public sectors, say around 300 public sector companies have been built up with our savings, our effort, and those are, a very huge source of strength for our economy. As I have told you, that when private sector are taking those things up, not that they are running it very efficiently. What they are doing, a recent case of Ruchi Shawa, it has a huge NPA. What happened? SBI, there was a NPA of SBI. Now SBI lent that investor to buy that Ruchi Shaw again. So what is this thing? Being your own money, you buy, I have no objection. But take money from the bank and you buy, you become the owner. And this airport privatization, what is the source of money of this Gautam Adani? The profit of all these companies in a year is 3,000 crore. So with that profit, is he buying all those private, government airlines? And then there is another question. Is it a good thing that all airports will be owned by only a single company?
Only and others. Yes.
Any question else?
Sir, another question is regarding foreign exchange reserve. Sir, we have seen that India has passed $500 billion of huge foreign exchange reserve for the first time after independence. So how does it help to counter such kind of eventualities or crisis in future or in present? Sir, please.
Yeah, it is a good thing, I will say, because it's a liquid fund the Reserve Bank of India is presently having, which can somehow give us some cushioning, protection against international uncertainty. That is a good thing. We have the dollar, so if suddenly the foreign companies withdraw the stocks, or there is a what happened in 91 like kind of situation, NRIs withdraw their money, then at least this amount of foreign exchange reserve will give us some protection. So since it's a liquid money, it is a protection to us. But one thing we also should keep in mind, that if you look at the international investment position of India, you will find our deposit is around $500 billion. Our liability is also $500 billion. So all those money, unlike China, is not an earned money. It is basically a borrowed money, or money received by incurring some liability. So $500 billion, of course, it gives us protection, but we should also keep it in mind that this money is earned not by income, but by incurring liability. So we are also to be guarded against this East Asian crisis of the late 90s. There the similar thing happened in Thailand, Indonesia, and all those countries. They must use foreign exchange reserve, but suddenly the sentiment about those countries reversed, and all those money were taken away overnight. So we should also be careful about this money, because this is a money accumulated through creating liability. It is not created through export surplus.
Okay,
It is
sir.
good, but we have to be careful about it.
Yes, sir. Very good answer, sir. Lastly, how India can benefit from this crisis, owing to the fact that the China has been the sword of the eye of the entire world, and can India bring back the supply chain, some of the supply chain from that country to our country for our own benefits? Is it possible, sir? How you see it?
It is, of course, a very important issue so far as Indian economy is concerned. Actually, my concern is from 2014 onwards, our export has stagnated.
Yes.
Now, one thing is certain, that if we, in the present day world, if we like to increase our export, we have to be part of the global supply chain.
Yes.
Nowadays it is very rare that one country produces everything. It procures material from several countries, then assemble them, and then ultimately export. I have read somewhere this Barbie doll, very simple thing. The materials that is used to make a Barbie doll come from 47 countries. So basically, but unfortunately, India is not a part of global supply chain. We have not joined the ASEAN. We have recently refused to join RCEP. So basically, we are not part of global supply chain. But now, since many European countries as well as USA are not very serious in investing in China, it is hope that some of these investments will come to India, and then India will be helped by increasing production as well as export. But problem here is that still now, India is not among the top preferred countries. Preferred countries nowadays are Vietnam,
Vietnam.
Poland, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Thailand. So they are preferred. India's position is perhaps 6th or 7th. So somehow we have some difficulty. So much laws are there, and particularly I feel that taxes are also high in our economy. So unless thinking has to be very clear that what you want to achieve. Say Atmanirbhar today, and then again opening up the economy yesterday. So actually, there is no policy continuity in our case.
Yes.
Particularly, I am very apprehensive that this particular central government, they act not in the basis of reason thinking, but often they act on impulse. Okay, this is to be done, so do it tomorrow. This I don't think that is the right way of management. We have seen this in case of GST, we have seen this in case of demonetization, we have seen this in case of... So impulsive policy making will not help the economy. It is a very tough challenge, and policy makers have also to be competent enough to achieve the goal. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. You have answered very nicely, and whatever presentation that you have done is very excellent and very informative. We have learned a lot from you, sir. So with this, I think we are running behind schedule. With this, we end the technical session. Now I request Dr. Devashish Upadhyay to offer his vote of thanks.
Okay, just a minute. Thank you again for patient hearing.
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir. You have done excellently. Okay, sir. So I request Dr. Devashish Upadhyay to deliver his vote of thanks of this webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Das. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks in the national webinar entitled Impact of COVID-19 on Indian Financial Sectors and Economy, organized by the Department of the Commerce and Economics in collaboration with IQAC, BUDGE BUDGE College. On behalf of the President, governing body, principal, governing body members, teachers, and non-teaching staffs of BUDGE BUDGE College, I sincerely thank Professor Siddhartha Shankar Saha, Department of Commerce, and Dean, Faculty, Council of PG Studies in Commerce, Social Welfare, and Business Management, University of Calcutta, for his significant and timely presentation on COVID-19 and financial markets. He has discussed overall impact of primary and other financial markets due to this COVID pandemic. Sir, the aspects and suggestions you have made for recovery are praiseworthy. Sir, economic revival package has to be led by public investment. Public investment in infrastructure can address two issues. First, it can crowd in private investment as firms win contracts. Second, it can remove a cause for Indian firms' poor competitiveness. Your presentation has made us understand the factors underpinning the present grim economic scenario. Sir, thank you very much for presenting your research and findings. We are indebted to Professor Debabrata Datta, former professor IMT Ghaziabad and Ashutosh College, now adjunct professor. Sir, you have illustrated the unprecedented situation of banking sector in Indian economy due to corona catastrophe. Sir, after a presentation, all the participants have understood the apprehensions and remedies in banking sector to counter measures. Many states have responded to the government of India's appeal and have lifted restrictions in intra and interstate movement of people and merchandise. We must be hopeful because ours is the world's largest democracy. Sir, you have said that inequality is present. Yes, inequality in our economy haunts us because the richest 10% owns 80.7% of wealth. Sir, right. But our economy has grown exponentially. We are today the world's 5th largest economy by nominal GDP and the 3rd largest by purchasing power parity. So in the period 2005 to 2016, we have lifted some 270 million people above the poverty line. So these are optimistic scenarios. Sir, India is ranked worldwide in terms of farm output. First in the world, net cropped area. It is the world's 2nd largest. So these are basic components of economics. If these are fine, we must be optimistic. And sir, India has very rich biodiversity, and our doctors, scientists in insisting the superior performance of the agriculture sector owing to the good Rabi harvest. Grain production has touched 296 million tons with record growth over the last 4 years, 2016-19. It is the right time to boost the food processing sector at micro, small, medium enterprise MSMEs. So anyway, we are thankful to you for your lucid and important presentation. I thank all the participants. Knowledge exchange and interaction have made this webinar joyful and successful. I propose vote of thanks for the chief patron of this webinar, Principal of BUDGE BUDGE College, Dr. Devjani Datta, who in fact initiated this webinar by proposing it. Madam, we thank you for your enthusiasm and constant support. I thank all the members of the governing body for their cooperation and inspiration. I appreciate and thank Dr. Gautam Das, Head, Department of Commerce, Dr. Kishore Nashkar, Head, Department of Economics, the conveners of this webinar, who led Mr. Nidantu Malik and Mr. Saurabh Bhuiya, who deserve credit and thanks for their life of the IQSA and all the teachers of the BUDGE BUDGE College for their warm cooperation whenever required. I thank Mr. Subrata Karmakar and Mr. Anis Ahmed and all the non-teaching staff of BUDGE BUDGE College for their administrative and technical support. On behalf of the ongoing organizing team, again, I thank everybody gratefully. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Das.
I think we have come to a stage where we have learned a lot. We have enriched by the experiences of our two great legitimate speakers, Dr. Sridhar Shankar Saha, as well as Professor Deobatu Datta, IIT Ghaziabad, an adjunct professor. So both of us has given enough light on the topic, and I think we have aptly covered most of the area which need attention in today's pandemic situation. I don't think that there was anything left behind that. Madam, I'm requesting Dr. Dhriyato to, if you want to say, share your views regarding this.
Thank you very much, Gautam, and all the participants. I am grateful to them that they have made this particular webinar such a success. I have been listening all through, and I'm very proud that all my staff, they joined, and they and the students also. But however, the number of participants I find is slightly less. So maybe next time we'll have some more. And what I do feel is that it is our first webinar. It is our first experience to conduct this type of webinars. So any faults, any mistakes that we have made, I ask all the listeners to forgive us. But the next time, positively, we will rectify it. But however, there are certain technical problems which we cannot. Even many times, my link was also going out, and I was going out and coming in, going out and coming in. But however, I thoroughly enjoyed, and Kishore Nashkar and Gautam Das along with Debashish. After a long time, I am seeing Debashish. It's a long time, our IQAC coordinator, and he is one of my favorites also. In fact, all are favorites, but however, Debashish shares a lot of things with me. So, because our labs are very close, my office and his lab are very close. So, after Debashish, are you listening? No, I think it's all.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am.
So, Jai, whatever it is, that I enjoyed talking with you and all of us, and I hope the way we are fighting against this pandemic, we will continue to fight and continue with your work. I hand over my mic to Gautam Das as well as Kishore Nashkar. Thank you all, sir. Thank you.
So, yes, thank you, madam, for your observation. Actually, participants, mostly they are in the YouTube or in some other places. We have restricted the Google Meet to limit it. Okay, so nevertheless, I think I have not much to say about this seminar, about this webinar. So I think we must conclude now. By now we have already almost 150. We have passed the time. So from my end and from the other department colleagues of my department, Department of Commerce as well as Department of Economics, I thank all the participants, our principals, and the respected speakers, the guest speakers, the resource persons who have contributed immensely for our to dispel our darkness about the economic outlook and all these things. So thank you again. Thank you all. So we conclude today's webinar. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very.
So we are leaving.
Yeah. Thank you. God bless you.